Truth Radio, broadcasting as live as we can make it. Taking alternative media to the limits on corruption, government conspiracies, UFOs, you name it, we cover it. You're listening to Truth Radio.
What's up, everybody? I'm Static, and I am your host for the day on Truth Radio. I'm going to announce a couple things. I don't have time for YouTube video, so I'm going to put it on a podcast for you. As you know, we are in the second week of the government shutdown. Yet another big scare. But the funny thing to me is the things that they're shutting down was unnecessary in the first place. Of course, the government workers are going to get a shutdown. 800,000 of the country's 2.1 million federal workers could be furloughed as a result of the shutdown. Obviously, it did happen. The head of the Environmental Protection Agency says that the regulatory would effectively shut down without a deal to fund the government. The EPA wouldn't be able to pay for its employees, and most of its regulatory functions would be put on hold until the deal is reached. Disease monitoring. That's another one. Because of the government shutdown, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention would have to halt a critical seasonal influenza program that monitors the spread of the flu. So go ahead and stock up on that vitamin C. Nutrition support is also slashed. The Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for women, infants, and children, a program to provide healthy food for low-income pregnant women and new moms, would have its federal funding cut in the face of the shutdown. The funny thing about this shutdown is it's making the deficit worse. Despite the Republican Party's insistence on fiscal responsibility, a government shutdown would likely add to the budget deficit. Food safety. We all need food safety, yeah. Most routine FDA food safety inspections would be suspended in the case of a shutdown. So make sure you smell your meat. The country's national parks would be forced to close without a government funding deal, as would the Smithsonian museums, disappointing countless potential visitors. They say that humans wouldn't be the only victims of the shutdown. The National Zoo would close and turn off its panda cams, which means no more live streaming of adorable pandas. Stock market panic, something that we've dealt with for years. The stock market reacted in a pretty bad way on Monday last week amidst the worries about the shutdown and an upcoming fight to raise the country's debt ceiling. The lack of a resolution means more market madness to come. You know, we're borrowing all this money, yet we can't pay it back. If you look at the amount of money that the government spends on ridiculous things, you'll notice that the U.S. government is spending $750,000 on a new soccer field for detainees held at Guantanamo Bay. The Obama administration plans to spend $16 and $20 million helping students from Indonesia get a master's degree. If you can believe this one, the U.S. government has spent $175,587 to determine if cocaine makes Japanese quail engage in sexually risky behavior. The U.S. government spent $200,000 on a tattoo removal program in Mission Hills, California. The federal government has shelled out $3 million to researchers at the University of California at Irvine to fund their research on video games, such as World of Warcraft. Wouldn't we all love to have a research job like that? The Department of Health and Human Services plan to spend $500 million on a program that will, among other things, seek to solve problems of 5-year-old children that can't sit still in a kindergarten classroom. You know, back in my day when I was in school, you were still disciplined by the principal. You would get the complete crap smacked out of you if you didn't sit still. But see, these days it's not like that. These days that's called abuse. Back then it was called corporal discipline for us. Here's a good one. Fannie Mae is about to ask the federal government for another $4.6 billion bailout, and it will almost certainly get it. The federal government once spent $30 million on a program that was designed to help Pakistani farmers produce more mangoes. U.S. Department of Agriculture once gave researchers at the University of New Hampshire $700,000 to study methane gas emissions from dairy cows. According to U.S. Today, 13 different government agencies fund 209 different science, technology, engineering, and math education programs. And 173 of those programs overlap with at least one other program. A total of $615,000 was given to the University of California at Santa Cruz to digitize photos, t-shirts, and concert tickets belonging to the Grateful Dead. Here's a funny one. China lends us more money than any other foreign nation. But that didn't stop our government from spending $17.8 million on social environment programs for China. Oh, what the hell are we doing? Well, here's another one. Speaking of China, since we're on this subject here, the U.S. government once spent $2.6 million to train Chinese prostitutes to drink responsibly. What is this, a Dos Equis commercial? You know, a professor at Stanford University was given $239,100 to study how Americans use the internet to find love. The U.S. Postal Service spent $13,500 on a single dinner at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, wherever that may be. The National Science Foundation once spent $216,000 to study whether or not politicians gain or lose support by taking ambiguous positions. A total of $1.8 million was spent on a museum of neon signs in Las Vegas, Nevada. We needed that. The federal government spends $25 billion a year maintaining federal buildings that are either unused or totally vacant. U.S. farmers are given a total of $2 billion each year for not farming their land, not making food, not cultivating their food. And why are you paid not to farm your land? That's a whole different story, isn't it? According to the Heritage Foundation, the U.S. military spent $998,798 to ship 2-cent washers from South Carolina to Texas, and $293,451 sending an 89-cent washer from South Carolina to Florida. A washer, not a clothing washer, a washer. It makes you wonder how in the world our government can be so foolish. Anyone that claims that there is not a lot of stuff that can be cut out of the federal budget is lying to you. All of this crazy spending is going to get us into a massive amount of trouble eventually. Already, a per capita basis, the U.S. national debt is worse than the national debt of Greece, Italy, Ireland, Portugal, and Spain. We have accumulated the biggest debt in the history of the world, and we're adding to it at the rate of about $150 million an hour. Oh my gosh. Let's break down the government spending on war. You know, a lot of people say that war makes money. Yeah, war makes money. Who's paying us? Because as far as I know, war is coming out of our pocket. We pay for war. A lot of people say bankers pay for war. Oh, that's good. Bankers pay for war. Where's that money coming from? The money that bankers use to pay for war is coming out of the people's pocket. Fact. Let me break this down. The government has spent $806 billion for Iraq, $44 billion for Afghanistan, $29 billion for enhanced security. The vast majority of all the money appropriated has gone to the Department of Defense, and of that money, more and more is being spent on operation and maintenance funding, which went from $42 billion in fiscal year 2004 to $79 billion in fiscal year 2008. Only $67 billion, or 5%, went to the State Department or U.S. aid. Only $8 billion or 1% went to the Veterans Care via the Department of Veteran Affairs. Where's the rest of the money? Of course nobody knows. Where's all of our money going? We all know where our money's going. It's not going to any of us. It gets into the hands of the government and it disappears. And then they can't account for it. Or we don't recall. We don't know where this money's going. Where's this money going? Oh, we can't recall. We don't know. That's what the government says. Gangsters. They're nothing more than legal gangsters doing illegal acts. And there's nothing that the people can do about it right now. Nothing. What are you going to do? You want a 1 million man march? I don't think anybody has the balls to do that. We have to understand that shortly our freedom is going to come to an end. They're going to take away your rights. They're going to take your guns. Unless you can slip a nice heater somewhere, your gun is gone. These FEMA camps are here for a reason. They're not set up for protection. When have you seen them use a FEMA camp right now? Last I saw, people try to go into a FEMA camp and film who was in there. Looks to me like prisoners. They're sure wearing the same outfits. People know what they're doing. Media knows what they're doing. Now that I've talked about pretty much all that I've wanted to talk about or felt like talking about, I'm going to go ahead and end out this podcast. But I want to let you know for the YouTube account, yes, we are getting your messages. And yes, we will be doing more videos shortly. We've been very busy with other productions and we've been very busy with the podcast. So we are getting your messages and we thank you very much for your support. We're going to go ahead and end out this podcast with a song from Ravatic. It's called I'm Ready and it's featuring Trill Bill. See you soon.
Every day is like a struggle, steady on my paper chase. Folded in my pocket, but I gotta get my paper straight. Went from eating dinner late with nothing on my dinner plate to feeling like I'm late, flying up and down the interstate. Better get it straight, they expected me to stay hot. Word goes out to Eric, Luther shouts go out to J-Dot. Went a couple years having no one understanding me. Now I got the team, man, I finally found the family. Might seem hard, but bitches Steam Squad. Whole team sucked clean by a mean broad. Just a year ago I couldn't find a clean job. Titty getting worse, fuck around and get robbed. Trill Billy chase these dreams like Freddy. I'm a monster boy, I thought I told you already. Get steady, on your mark, get gone. I don't make tracks, bitch, I compose songs. Boy, I thought I had rings. I'm a hit first rings. I'll ring. I'm ready. Get that our team and around the ground. Go into style. First round, I'm ready. Ring. I'm ready. Get that. Boy, I thought I had rings. I'm a hit first rings. I'll ring. I'm ready. Get that our team and around the ground. Go into style. First round, I'm ready. Ring. I'm ready. Get that. Boy, I thought I had rings. I'm a hit first ready. I'm ring. I'm ready. Get that our team and around the ground. Go into style. First round, I'm ready. Ring. I'm ready. Get that. Boy, I thought I had rings. Go ring slide. First rings. I'm ring. I'm ready. Get that our team and around the ground. Go into style. First round, I'm ready. Ring. I'm ready. Get that. I'm ready. Get that. I'm ready. Get that. I'm ready.